Welcome back to another video today on the Book Out Sam channel. Today we're going to be talking about Ange Postecoglou. Now there's a lot we need to discuss and talk about when we talk about Ange, but personally I've kind of got to the decision now where I think the conversation should now be Ange out. I'm putting it out there straight away before we even get into this video. But before we do, please do smash the like button and please do subscribe. I've spoken about Ange Postecoglou quite a few times on this channel before, but I think his time is up now. You've got to look at it as a whole. They currently find themselves in the bottom half of the table at the end of the calendar year. Then not only that, this is their lowest points tally in a calendar year since 2008. Just 42 points this calendar year. It's just simply not good enough. Like, you look at it as a whole, and there's so many times we discuss this, and it's entertaining football. When does it go past entertaining football and become kamikaze football? We talk about this Ange Postecoglou side, and we talk about the amount of times now they're losing leads. They keep not winning, and that's the thing. That's the biggest problem. Now, I get the understanding, and I understand what they're trying to do, and I understand the kind of entertaining football. But at the end of the day, this is a results-based business, and fans can only go so far with entertaining football. And you've seen it already, kind of the chat about Ange Postecoglou's job going forward, and a lot of people discussing, is he the right man? And personally, I don't think he is. Now, we can talk about the entertaining football. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love watching Tottenham so far this season, because it is just kamikaze. We're going to score more than you, but it doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. You cannot play entertaining football like this week in, week out, unless you're the elite and you're the world's best. Yes, we saw it with Pep Guardiola, but even now, there's obviously a little bit of an asterisk next to it, but we've seen them do that for so many years. But this is Tottenham. And I think there's kind of an arrogance. And before I used to discuss, is it naive the way he plays and the fact that he refuses to play defensive football against some bigger sides. But now I think it's arrogance more than anything, because he's just completely reluctant to change whatsoever. And you cannot do that in the Premier League. You cannot do that with this Tottenham Hotspurs side. The side isn't good enough to go forward playing this way. And we've seen it for so long now. And I think kind of this arrogance and the refusal to ever change his way, it's the way we play, mate, is going to haunt him. And to be honest, I think he should be sacked. Like, this Tottenham Hotspur side have spent absolutely ton load of money when you look at it. Yes, I understand they've got injuries, but still, they've got a decent squad. Like, they've got some good players that can't play with this system. And I always talk about managers and football and things like that. And I always say that the time will tell just how good a manager is. It's not about having a philosophy. It's about applying and looking at the group of players, looking at the assets you have and creating the best thing that you can do. And right now, he's not even looking at his assets. He's just saying we're going to carry on playing the way we should be. But when you've got players like your doggy out and players like that going throughout this season, they've had a lot of injuries and things, you should change the way you play based on your players. I think that's a really good sign of a manager that's got different systems that can change it up depending on what he's got in front of him. So I think that's the biggest part. And for me, Ange isn't doing that. And I wouldn't mind this entertaining football, but fans get annoyed every now and it will eventually get annoyed, and that's the problem. They're not winning games and they're losing too many games. Like, you shouldn't be drawing to the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers. They've lost to Ipswich, they've lost to Bournemouth, and they've lost to a lot of teams so far this season. It's simply just not good enough. And I think this reluctance, and a lot of people really like the style and things, and Tottenham fans say it's entertaining, but at the end of the day, it's a results-based business. They need to win a trophy. They need to win something, especially with that money they've spent on this team. Like, you cannot go this far. And we've had these kind of conversations with other managers in the past, but for some reason no one likes to really discuss it when it comes to Ange Postecoglou, because he's kind of a bit of a media darling, and everyone says, oh, he's for the football purists and this football way and things like that. It just doesn't work. And for some reason, we kind of spoke about Russell Martin. I think it's very similar with Russell Martin and Ange Postecoglou, a reluctance to change based on performance and based on the assets and the players that he has in front of them. Tottenham shouldn't be playing this way. It's not getting them results, and it hasn't for a really long time. And that's why in the calendar year, as I said, this is the worst performance for Tottenham since 2008. Surely, though, just because we're playing great football, that's where you kind of look at it and just think, something isn't right here. The math ain't mathing. How does this work? But if I was Daniel Levy, I personally would sack him. And I just don't get it. I think there's a fine balance between beautiful football and results. And I think Ange Postecoglou goes too far with his insane in football. There needs to be a bit of proactiveness, not just being every week completely the same. Maybe react and be proactive and think to the opposition and think, how can we play against them? You look at how Nuno Espirito Santo's doing right now at Nottingham Forest. Every week they've got a game plan. They nullify teams' most important assets. You watch them so many times really suffocate teams. And I'm not saying that Tottenham need to go to that way, but maybe just add a little bit of that into the game. You've seen it with Arsenal this season. Have also changed their game ever so slightly. And I think that's what sides have got to do. I think you've got to show a fine balance of both entertainment and results, and B, I just really don't like this kind of naivety and arrogance, refusing to change the way they play. But I personally think he should be sacked. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. We discussed this with Russell Martin, the fact that he's got this Southampton side and he was refusing. Obviously, he's been sacked now since, but you know what I'm trying to say. When he was at Southampton, we spoke about it so often that he was refusing to change the way he was playing, and they were always passing out from the back and constantly. We were saying it's crazy. But for some reason, we don't have this kind of same talk when we're talking about Ange Postecoglou, because it's the exact same situation, refusing to change the way they play, even though it's not getting the results. And every week, it's hurting and haunting this side. Something needs to change at Tottenham. I think it's got to be Ange, because Ange isn't going to change. I think that's the biggest thing. With a lot of managers, you say maybe they might change the way they're playing. We've seen it with other managers kind of slightly tweak it, but we know Ange will refuse to do that. So something's got to change, and it will be him, in my opinion. There's a lot of managers being discussed already. Kind of, you look at your likes of Iraola. That's a perfect balance where an entertaining football, it's high pressing and things, but it's because of the team that he's got. He trains and buys the players to fit that system and things, and you see they kind of play differently week in, week out. Yes, they do like to high press, but they've also got the balance that if it's not working, they can sit in and really dictate play as well, and they've got possession based football. Like it's a whole system that really works. And you've got Marco Silva as well at Fulham. Those are the managers I could see in the Premier League that I think would be a really good fit. Maybe somebody like a Thomas Frank, but we'll wait and see. But personally, I don't think Ange is the man for Tottenham going forward, and I think something needs to change, and needs to change fast, because how long are we going to keep saying that this can carry on? They're in the bottom half of the table. This Tottenham Hotspurs side, they've spent hundreds of millions of pounds on. They've got one of the most expensive strikers in the league playing for this team. Then you've got your players like Maddison. There's so many other players that they've spent an insane amount of money on, and they're not getting results. And for me, Ange has to go. But please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Please do like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know your thoughts if you're a Tottenham fan. Do you disagree or do you agree with me? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for another upload. Thank you and goodbye.